All right, you got lazy as fuck, bro. I'll just be totally honest. The reason why most guys have either crushes or girlfriends and then it kind of goes to shit afterwards, there's a few reasons. Number one is just because you get lazy, you get complacent. As a young man, especially if your goals are so totally orientated to just being able to attract women, which personally, like, that is the case for me. You know, it sounds awesome and so disciplined to say, like, no, I do all this for myself. But at least for me, it's like a huge motive. Like, I think this is a masculine feeling inside of me. Maybe like a lot of like those guys who comment this shit don't have it, but it's like the feminine energy is incredibly inspiring. I'm incredibly motivated by the idea of attracting women. Like 100%. I don't know why that's bad to admit these days. It's so fucking weird. I'm going on a side tangent, man, but these days it's so fucking weird that like we can't admit that we like the opposite sex. Have you noticed this? Like, there's so many cultures around of like, oh, women are a distraction, or men ain't shit, or women are hoes. Like, shut the fuck up, bro. No, we can't even admit, like, yep, I'm making myself more attractive because I want to attract a good woman. We can't admit that. Like, you'll get, like, shit on for that. Like, oh, but you should be doing it. Shut the fuck up. You should be doing it for yourself. Shut up. But, so, the dilemma is a young man gets onto self-improvement, even if he might not know it's self-improvement, but he's improving himself, he's going to the gym, he's building himself up, he might already have like good genetics, and eventually he gets into a relationship, and then things go downhill. And one is because he gets lazy, he gets complacent, and he stops doing the things that made him attractive in the first place. And this is like a red pill fact, where like, you can view it in the thing of like, oh, you know, the girl, like, if you slip up, the girl will break up with you and she's the enemy. The way I see it, bro, it's like, she was attracted to you here. She was attracted to this version of you. You're going to the gym. You're taking a while to respond. And it kind of like, you know, interests her. It excites her. It makes her a little bit nervous. You're focused on goals. You're ambitious. That's so incredibly attractive. And then she's not seeing the other side of you. She smells your shit. She sees you just eating shitty food, even though she thought that you were really, really attractive. She sees you just wasting a lot of time, waking up late. And soon it's like, you were up here when you guys met, now you're down here. She's not a bad person for losing her interest in you because you aren't the same person anymore. You're a downgraded version. Now, that can happen because you were motivated by the idea of getting a girlfriend instead of the idea of maintaining that love for the long term. But the second reason, it can get quite like negative, and I don't mean to like be disrespectful here, but the second reason is because if you're somewhat low quality, like, you know, you're not going to admit that you are, but you're like a young man, you don't bring that much to the table compared to how much you will bring 10 years from now. You're going to be attracting equally kind of low quality women. And chances are, when you're getting onto self-improvement, you know, there's that proper dilemma of like, oh, I don't want to be friends with my Jeffrey friends anymore. I don't want to play video games and everything. I don't want to just waste time with them. But you don't, like, I found a lot of young guys don't set that same standard for their girlfriends. And in fact, I've seen like this with young women as well. They don't set that same standard for their boyfriend. So I've seen young women, especially in my gym as well, like that they're getting into business. They're like being way more productive going to the gym. And they want to be around female friends who are like that, but then they get into a relationship with a guy who isn't like that. They get into a relationship with a guy who still like drinks and gets drunk and shit. That's fucking cringe, bro. Maybe because I've taken a big step back from that fucking life, but it's like, it's actually fucking cringe that people like go out and get drunk. Like, now that I can see it from a different angle, I'm like, what is wrong with you to like have to like intoxicate, to poison yourself? Because, lads, like, I get more confident that, I might be able to go put my dick in it. Like, who gives a fuck, man? Because imagine this example, right? You're leveling up, you're on self-improvement, you're going to the gym and everything, and you've started setting higher standards for the people in your life. But you're always, as a young man, like almost always, you are kind of like deprived from intimacy for most young men. Of course, you can be like way more attractive and you can maybe not experience that. But for the majority of guys watching this, you are going to be like part of the 80%, part of the 90% of guys who aren't there yet. Now, you're making progress, which is fantastic, but eventually you'll attract a girl who is probably lower than you in a certain, like, you know, it's a weird thing and it sounds kind of offensive, but usually this is the dynamic. Usually the guy has to be like a little bit better, or even quite significantly better than the girl, especially in things, maybe not so much in attractiveness. You know, guys like value attractiveness in women way higher than women value attractiveness in men, but it's certainly in things like hobbies, like good habits, like self-development and spirituality, meditation, going to the gym, eating clean, not spending all day consuming content. So you have to like do those things to really improve, but you kind of lower your standards just for the thing of like, oh, but you know, like she's actually really nice and she's got such a nice personality, oh, she's really funny. And so chances are, at least for me, that when you're in these like young relationships, she becomes like your instant gratification partner. Like you might be able to relate to this. Now, of course, there's gonna be people like these guys always fucking commenting like, no, but like she could be your growth and everything. Right? Fair enough. That's awesome for you. But what's realistic for the majority of young men is that you won't keep up the same like hard, cold iron routine when you're in a relationship. You will like put your foot off the gas pedal. You will spend more time with her. You will like succumb to like, you know, the pressures of like, oh, she wants to go get ice cream with you and she wants to eat, and like, oh, you've stayed up late and now you've woken up at fucking 11 a.m. You said you were going to go to the gym tomorrow morning, but you're not going to go now. She becomes your instant gratification partner, and it's the first like couple of girlfriends you have, or the girls you date, which this happens. It's like, it's so fun having that. It's literally like you have like this other part of you where you're doing these things and you're just kind of having fun, you're giggling, you're just doing like silly shit, and it's so fun for a couple of days. Because if you're on like the self-improvement journey, if you really, really value your growth, if you've really been committed to delaying gratification, for a couple of days you can kind of like intoxicate yourself and you can have lots of sugar and everything. But then those thoughts start creeping in and you're like, oh, my diet's like been shit the last few days. Haven't went to the gym, look kind of fat, getting kind of lazy, sleep deprived. You know, these things like really kick in. For me, it was always about like diet. It was always that I'd be eating like shit food and be spending like money on like desserts and, you know, ordering like burgers and all this shit. It really kicks in for you. And then this is when it really gets problematic. This is why I wanted to make this video, because I didn't really have enough time to explain it in the short video on the main channel. Because now you've lost your presence. You've lost like that all positive view of her, because she hasn't technically done anything wrong. All of this was your responsibility, but you do the bad things with her. And this starts putting friction in your relationship, which otherwise could have been fine. It's of utmost importance as a young man who's getting into a relationship that you maintain as much of your disciplined routine as possible. That's so incredibly masculine and attractive, even though it feels like that will cause some kind of friction in your relationship. She's free on Friday, but you had something to do on Friday, and you can't, like, you know, you were going to go to the gym and be productive on Friday and stuff, but then she just said, oh yeah, like, let's meet tomorrow, and you're like, oh yeah, because you kind of do want to meet her. You might want to meet her more than you actually want to go and do your routine. But all of that is based on feelings. You've got to do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it, and this is like the biggest time as a young man when you really won't feel like thinking like, oh yeah, like I could spend all day with her, have lots of sex and like, you know, enjoy myself, or I could go to the gym, it's raining, I've got to run to the gym or some shit, I've got to like, you know, be disciplined and read all day. Why the fuck would I want to read when like I can go meet this girl that I like? That's when it's the most important to follow through on the routine that you set out. Discipline is all about just like setting a plan to do something and then doing it no matter if your feelings are for or against that thing. So this is why it's so important, and like, you know, it can get tricky because then you kind of have to like be a lot less spontaneous, and you have to really like organize more things, and you have to kind of like make plans in advance. So you'll say like, oh yeah, like we're both free next Friday, so we'll meet next Friday, instead of thinking like, oh, like what are you doing today? Do you want to hang out? Hee hee. Because today you should have had a plan of shit to do. In matter of fact, answer this question right now. Don't be a little bitch. Answer this question right now. Do you have a routine? Like, do you have a plan for today? Do you have a plan for tomorrow? Do you know what you're doing at 4? Don't be a little bitch. Do you know what you're doing at 8 p.m. today? Do you know what you're doing at 2:30 tomorrow? Be totally honest. Have you literally, don't be a little bitch. Have you got a piece of paper or like a timetable where you have wrote down what you will do at a certain time? That's one of the best productivity tactics you can ever find, I promise you. That is like the iron routine. That's like the thing that skyrockets your discipline. It makes you feel like a man when you literally say to yourself, I am going to the gym tomorrow at 2 p.m. and it's already in your mind. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. I'm going to read 20 pages. I'm going to read for an hour. At 5 p.m. I'm going to go for a walk. I've already set it in stone. So no, Jessica, I don't have time to meet you tomorrow. You think, like, you truly believe that this will create some kind of friction in your relationship, and it kind of will, but that friction is way more positive than it is negative. As much as she'll complain and she'll kind of like, she'll test you and be, oh, are you sure? But we could have had lots of fun and shit. Bro, she's going to be more attracted. Now, this doesn't say to not make time for her. This is like a way better upgraded version, because now you're making time for the things that truly matter to you, just all round. You make sure that you get like your fundamentals in, you make sure that you get like the essentials in. And then when you do go and meet your girl, when you've scheduled it in advance and you're going to meet on like Saturday, and you know that Saturday is a rest day for you, you know that you've been working hard all week, then when you meet her, you're going to be in a totally present, loving mood. You're not going to be thinking like, oh, but I've missed multiple days of the gym and I'm going to miss it again today, and like, oh, my diet's going to be shit, because everything's been fine up until then. The book, The Way of the Superior Man, is literally 10 out of 10. If you're interested in this concept, The Way of the Superior Man by David Dida, like literally 10 out of 10 book on masculinity. And in it, he says to give your woman your total presence when you're with her. And if you know that you can't be totally present, if you know that you're going to be thinking, like your mind's going to be elsewhere on your business, on your craft, then don't spend time with her. He said that spending all day with someone in a state of like mindlessness is way, way less valuable than spending 30 minutes with them totally present. And I truly agree with that. So I've literally been using like the phrases he writes in the book, where I literally is like a girl wanted to meet me like 1 week ago, and it was going to be kind of late. And I just thought, okay, I can meet you for 1 hour. I can meet you for 1 hour. If you overdo it, and if you spend too much time with someone who isn't on the exact same goals as you, isn't on the exact same routine as you, you're gonna have to like lower your discipline scale. Now, there might be a chance where your like life has a net positive from this, but it's unlikely. You might get some kind of benefit from, there's a lot of happiness and enjoyment spending time and eating junk food with my girlfriend on Saturday, but chances are you're gonna get the best growth from the time that you stick to your routine. That's what maintains that relationship. This is like the number one relationship mistake that I've made in every relationship that I've had so far, is that I don't stick to the routine because I'm so lenient and I'm so like spontaneous. And you want to see your girl, you want to spend time with them, and you have this kind of like indifference mindset where you're just kind of thinking like, oh, like if I don't go to the gym tomorrow, I can just go the other day, and if I eat too many calories tomorrow, then I can just eat less the next day. And you can technically do that, but it's like it will affect you, and it will show what kind of man you are. Set that routine for yourself, set that like discipline, like cold, okay, this is what I'm going to do at this time. But then also make sure that you set aside time that you can see your girl like every single week, once a week, twice a week. That's no problem. But make sure it's part of like your disciplined plan. And I know that this seems like quite cold-hearted advice, but I promise you, if you implement it, and the time you spend with if you've got a girlfriend right now, if you've got like a girl that you're dating, the time you spend with her will be so much better when you go there, and it's like you've checked off all the boxes. I really, really wish that for you. Since this was the biggest mistake for me, men learn from their mistakes. Wise men learn from the mistakes of others. At least help get one of us to learn from this mistake. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.